All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on wherever you are. I'm Manny Siddiqui, and today is bright, beautiful Sunday morning here in Virginia. Temperatures are kind of dropping, but today is a beautiful day outside. Can't wait to go out. So today we are going to be hosting Syed Majid Raza. Syed Majid Raza is an alumni, MCS 96, 97, Majid bhai?
96. 96.
96. And I have known him for quite some time. And there are few individuals that I regard like in high esteem in terms of technical excellence, and Majid Bhai is one of those. So I reach out to him for DevOps because he's like expert in almost everything. I was like, okay, I need somebody to talk about DevOps. So here we are. So without further ado, I'll let Majid Bhai, take it from here. And Majid Bhai, please feel free to talk about the format, how you want the questioning done, so on and so forth. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Manny, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I think we are global everywhere. So thank you. I'm from 96 KU, and then I came to US in 1999, and from last 23 years, I am in New York and New Jersey area, and working in all the financials and totally on solution architect, hands-on on IT professional. So today's topic is more on DevOps, and I want to more focus because as Mani has said, this DevOps hub and someone wants to adopt DevOps as a career. So rather than going to a DevOps more deep knowledge or what tools we have to use it, I want to go this session more interactive. So if you have any question, please you can stop us. You can jump in to ask the question, or you can ask the question into a chat. We are more happy to answer your question rather than we explaining the DevOps things. If you see from DevOps, I am doing DevOps for the last almost 8 years. So because I think the reason that DevOps is most people are think that DevOps is like a tools or learning any technology. DevOps is not like for learning tools or learning technology. DevOps is more on did you change your mindset or not? I think that's more more is DevOps is. So it's a development methodology. How you are developing software 15 years back and how you are 15, 20 years back and how you are software development right now. So right now, before that, somebody go say I am a developer. I build my code, and then someone is in operation or supporting. They run your code, and someone from the support team that support your code. So I think these were the three sections. People were saying that hey, I am a software developer, but I do not know about the servers. I don't know about where my code is running is. And when the support, when some is there any issue in a production, the support team doesn't know what code is running is. So nowadays it is more on like horizontal stuff. Like if you build any code, so that means you should be able to run it and you should be able to support it. So that's the whole philosophy of DevOps is. So right now, there's no one can be a segregation of their responsibilities. Is you are responsible more of all development, operations, and support. How you can go and do it. So obviously, you cannot do everything manually, right? Because manually you develop your code, but how you can go and deploy it, you cannot do manually. So these are the I mean, you can do manually, but it takes time. But how you can go and support it? So that's the main purpose is. So that's why the philosophy of DevOps comes in, and that's why the development process to support into a development process and a production support support is comes in. So if you see the DevOps lifecycle. That means you have to do a continuous development, you have to do a continuous integration, and you have to do a continuous testing of your and you do need to do a continuous monitoring of this. So these are the four, I mean, building blocks that you needed for your software development, right? So so that means that you are need to do a more automation stuff. So in order to means that you need to do a devs stuff also, and you need to do a operation stuff also. So that means that in order to do this one, either you have to write your code in such a way that do all the thing. And if you see on the left, there are several, if you see the last 20 years or 15, 20 years, everything comes out as a open source technology, people adopting open source more. That's the reason that when DevOps taking more uh, more value, because now the things are available pretty soon. I mean, for your code management, you need to know the Git. So, and there are different vendors, like Amazon has their own adoptions, Azure has their own adoptions, and Google has their own adoptions, right? Then the Jenkins will come for your continuous development. Then your Ansible will come for your configuration management. If you develop your code in your machine, if it is run in your machine, that means it should run anywhere. So that means that container technology came in the form of Kubernetes and all this stuff. So all these stuff, that means that makes, if you make your career as a software engineer, that means you have more responsibilities and you have more growth in your career path, right? Before that, there is a difference between software developer and software engineer, right? Like a QA tester and QA engineer. Both are, I mean, now QA engineer is more on technological stuff rather than and QA tester, right? Software developer, right? That means, and software engineer. Engineering means you are adopting the best engineering practices like a DevOps stuff and everything into your DevOps cycle. So that means that as a software developer, if you want to grow in your career, if you are a software developer or a software engineer, you have more value than any other things that in your in the software technology, right? So people before that, they are a QA also before that. But everybody now needs a hands-on, right? That means that you have to be on hands-on stuff rather, because now everything is open, so everything is available. You do not need to do develop anything from the scratch. So you have to be a good engineer rather than you are just like a software developer. So if you want to become a good engineer, that means you need to know the DevOps stuff. That means you are shipping your code with a continuous deployment, continuous integration, continuous testing, and continuous monitoring. So this is, as an engineer, you need to know it. Right now, everybody needs a hands-on. Like if you are a solution architect, you should be a hands-on. If you are a principal engineer, you have to be a hands-on. Everybody now needs a hands-on stuff. Nobody wants that we is a several, that's a different path for the BA, but different path for the engineer. But if you are falling under the engineer umbrella, you have to be a hands-on stuff. So that's why that if you are developing your code, that means you have to run it, you have to support it. That's the main purpose is, in order to do this thing, everything, you need to be some automation. In order to do automation, you need to learn the languages, you need to learn your, you need to be hands-on. So that's the main philosophy of this one. So what are the advantages of DevOps now? So that means that I want to ship business solution quick. So that's every business needed. Now those days, now there are some projects which are agile based, but most of the things are now a or which are waterfall based model. But most of the things are agile based. People need quick everything. You need to automate your all your SDLC. There should be no manual steps over there. You need to do a software quality assurance early. It's not like that you when you develop your code, then you are doing quality assurance. Quality assurance means you have to write your unit tests, you have to write your smoke tests, everything be a part of your first when you start your development. You have to be a automation approach, right? You just checked in your code and everything should be deployment seamlessly, automation, right? So that means that if you have all four step up, that means you're releasing time fast and your release management more. You don't need a now separate release engineer or separate release manager. It is now the responsibility of the developer who is doing DevOps stuff also. This help us build the high available and scalable automation and automate the installation and deployment processes. That means that I as a developer, I just need to check in my code. When once my code is merged into the develop branch, or everything should be automated deployment into my dev environment and then staging environment and then production environment. So that's the thing that we needed now, rather than we are doing manual work. Do not do anything man. That's the philosophy of DevOps. Do not, if you are repeating your stuff, that means you need to think about it, how I can go and automate it, how I can go and code it. Do not do anything manually on your daily basis or your hourly basis. That means that need think that you are doing something, you are not doing in automation. And when you do so much 1 to 7 steps, that means you need to know the monitoring of your stuff, right? You need to do. That's why the many companies like Datadogs and tons of company comes in. Those are doing monitoring. Or if you're Amazon, Azure, everybody has right their own products. So that's the benefits of using in of DevOps. That means as a software developer, I am doing most of the stuff. Now those days are gone that you just check in your code and you have to create a pipeline. You have to do everything automation. Even though if you're doing some manual stuff, that's your responsibility to do automate it, or because otherwise you cannot ship your product a lot. So as a DevOps roadmap, what are the roadmaps how you can go and in, because if you are thinking about as a software developer, right, you need to go and adopt the DevOps. That's right now I do not see any good engineer who do not doing a DevOps in their role also, right? Even though you are doing business development, you need to do and deploy your code automatically in all environment. So there are some foundations that you need to learn as a DevOps. Like suppose you need to know Linux, you need to go Python, you need Go language is pretty good because now everything comes as a all the infrastructure is coming as a code. So now everything is a code, right? Get, and you need to know at least one Azure, AWS, or Google, whatever your choice is. In advance, you need to know the Terraform, right? In AWS CDK, which is a cloud development kit. Docker, you must need it. Kubernetes, CI/CD, and how anyone manage the containers if Amazon is EKS, AKS, or GKE. So if you want to become a good engineer, you have to adopt the DevOps stuff. So in order to do a DevOps stuff, you need to go this roadmap, and you have to adopt this foundation. See, now if you think about it, now everything is a code, right? Even though your infrastructure is all code, right? So that means If I check in anything, that means my server should be automatically deployment through my DevOps pipeline, and boom, the server is in. Now there is no administrator that can go and build your server or build your machines. Are That's the concept of all GitOps or DevOps. If you see everything, DevOps is a development and operation. GitOps means that all your infrastructure is also a part of the operation. So now, so that's why software developer or software engineer has more value, and their career path is more growth, because now everything is come as a code and everything is come as automation. If you know this stuff, that means if five people are working in one team, but if you have a good engineer, only three people are working it, right? Because you have done everything automated. So in order to do a DevOps skill, what skills are you are required? So you need, either you can go any cloud like AWS, Azure, or GCP, and plus you have to be a very good in configuration management. So in order to do a configuration management, you have a Puppet, you have a Ansible, you have a Chef, Terraform. There are different stuff, different technologies in different cloud vendors are. But you have to be a very good and hands-on in scripting and Git workflows. So, and also you have to be a very good in CI/CD pipeline, yeah? And that means you are doing continuous integration and continuous delivery on your on this stuff. So these are the steps are required. So that's why I'm more emphasis. Hands-on has more value nowadays as compared to you are doing just software developer. Hands-on means you have to know, you have to automate it everything. You right now your data structure should be more good rather than you are doing any language, because you have to use language on different language on different area. Suppose Go is a functional based programming, and Python is a script is kind of like a scripting programming. Okay, so and Java is a oriented base. So there are different programming. So programming is not required nowadays that you have to know each one, but your data structure is more. So if you are new in your career or you want to grow in your career, your data structure should be very good to adopt. If you see even the one DevOps, you have to learn so many technologies nowadays. You cannot be on even though you can go for a one vendor, but in the one vendor you can have a lot of technologies also. If anyone has any questions, I can take a question also if anyone has it.
Yeah, Majid bhai, we do have a question from Shahman Hassan. Shahman, do you want to speak? Shahman? Okay, we also have, okay, so Shaman has actually posted the question, Majid bhai, and the question is, how much to learn? I have learned basics of AWS and DevOps tools like Docker, Terraform, and Git, but I still think that is not enough, and I cannot find any entry-level jobs.
Yeah, I think, I mean, as I told you that you need to uh, change your mindset, right? Suppose if you if you already learned the Terraform, if you already learned, think about it. Have you done enough automation or not? Right? So like this one, I can learn the Terraform, I can learn the Docker, but what actually does it mean? That are you able, even though one single hello world program that you just checked in the code, and it should go and run all your unit tests, it should go run all your smoke tests, and it should deploy your code in this one. So suppose if you have this Amazon, you should be able to run at least one hello world program from code pipeline, everything to automated way. So I think that's why I told you that nowadays is more hands-on required. even though you learn the stuff, but if you are not hands-on, try to be hands-on. Try to be create your own open source project in your Git. Try to become your Git repo pretty well, right? That's my suggestion is that just do not say that, hey, I learned it. Where's your Git? Show me in your Git that what you have learned. That that we want to say. Once you contribute into an open source project and once you run to do all your project, that means that you are now you are. If you see in my GitHub, I put all my learning over there. So that's the way that you can do it. Just do not do just I just learn it. People want to see, as I said, hands-on, what you have done it. What are you contributing into new open source project, or do you have write your own project put in your GitHub or not? I think that's the answer is.
I mean, with so these days with so much competitions, I think every developer at least, I would even say even the QA guys, right? They gotta have their own Git repo with their own code sample, their own learning material, whatever they have worked on, just to show to the world that
Yeah.
they have actively progressed through their coding career. They have coded through different problems and tutorials and concepts and so on and so forth. So it's definitely Git is a must-have.
Must
Okay,
have. So
so we do have another question from Muhammad Usman Qureshi, and he's asking, Sir, are we bound to learn these things in sequence? Because I have learned Linux, Docker, Kubernetes, and now I'm learning AWS.
I don't think so any sequence are required, but you can paste the question that what you are doing it. So suppose if in your case, I think Linux, I mean, you have need to go step by step, right? You cannot go, and if you learn the Terraform, if you are in learning in AWS, try to stick on AWS and do the mastery on that one, right? So I don't think so. You need to learn Terraform if in the beginning, in later in your career is good. I think if you learn Python, Linux, and AWS stuff, AWS CDK and stuff, I think that is good enough to start it. I mean, because you cannot do master from the day one, you have to pick and choose.
Right. So you are suggesting Python and
Yeah.
AWS,
Python,
right?
Linux, AWS CDK, and AWS, all the AWS stuff.
Okay, okay, okay. And if somebody wants to go the Azure route, they can pick Azure,
They
right?
can pick
But they will
Azure.
still be able to utilize
Yeah,
their skills in Linux
yeah.
and Python over in Azure, correct?
Right, correct. See, that's the beauty is nowadays, right? Even though every major vendor, they have their every major Microsoft 20 years back, Microsoft do not think about Linux, right? Now the Microsoft converted to Linux. Python is there, Go is there, everyone is everywhere now. That's the beauty of open source.
Right. Okay. We have another question that's from Sayed Ali Raza. Automate things, code place code or code tests code. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, automated testing means that suppose if you are doing it, if I am doing automated, there are two things. Unit tests are different. That is, you are doing unit tests of your code, and the smoke tests are different. So unit tests for every language or every there are tons of open source are available for for the unit testing, right? Unit testing, smoke testing, and functional testing, these are all separate. Suppose you should start at least from the unit test. That means whenever I deploy my check in my code will be tested automatically, and my code pipeline should not deploy anything if my unit test is failed. So that's the kind of like a automation that we should have it. Even though you should write the pre-commit hook, right? Pre-commit hook means that once I check in my code, before the checking the code, all the unit tests should run locally in your machine. And then if your machine, in your local machine, unit test is failing, it should not allow to check in. That's one kind of automation testing are. But the other tests are like smoke testing, other tests like functional testing. Those are different.
Okay, so this is where I have a question because we do have our DevOps pipeline built in Jenkins, and that works flawlessly, right, and beautifully. And if I were to go back and let's say I'm a developer, right? In today's world, should a developer have any experience in all these DevOps specific tools and technologies?
Yeah, that's why I told you that now the things are different. Now you are not software developer, you are a software engineer,
Mhm.
right? Engineer means you need to know everything.
You need to know everything. You also then need to know different types of servers, different
Servers,
flavors of the OS, what are the
OS.
differences, right? And then multi-threading and different settings within the OS to control the threading model, and
Yeah,
anything and everything that
see,
that comes with the infrastructure, really. Is that right?
suppose, right. Suppose in my case, for every infrastructure, we have our GitHub repo. All your server, all your network is a GitHub repo, right? That means if I want to change them, increase the memory in my server, I need to change the code and check in. That will go and increase the memory of my server.
Okay. All right. All right. I mean, I don't know if you want to continue, but we have two more questions.
Yeah, sure. Take two more questions, then we will
Okay.
continue.
So another question is, could you please guide us in a way in which we have a practical example of any company's project that we are automating deploying it on somewhere by using these technologies?
Okay. So see, nowadays every company is doing this. As I know, in all US companies, every company is, that means suppose if I am a developer, that means that I should go first of all, before that, every day is a deployment day, right? So if I am I write my code, I have my own pipeline. I go and merge it to a code. It go and deploy to this one to a development environment. And once everything is released, so that means that when the developed code is merged to a staging code, it goes to deploy to a QA. If the staging code is merged to a main branch, then it goes to a production one. So you know that now there is no operation team is involved, right? So that means that I am just merging my code and my code is automatically deployment into a different environment. I do not need to go and bother anyone. Hey, today I am at deployment and operation team is logging and deploy your code. The thing should be automated now.
Right, but I think the question, if I got it right, was more about, is there any practical example of some other company that they can follow to kind of learn the ins and out of it? And then I can share my 2 cents here. So I'm gonna recommend a website called highscalability.com. And that website, I've been following it for years, more than 10 years now. This website has architectures and technology solutions implemented at, really, you name it, all big companies and solutions. How to design WhatsApp, or what is the WhatsApp architecture, or how does Uber work, how does Tinder work. So they have laid out the technical design, the whole thing, how data moves from point A to point Z and how things happen, right? Similarly, I would also recommend you guys to subscribe to AWS architect level webcast, and the name of the webcast is "This Is My Architecture." And what they do in the webcast, they invite people like Majid Bhai and people like Sayed Raza Ali, experts at different companies, and they come and then they explain how they have used a particular feature in AWS, how they have implemented their DevOps pipeline, how they are using, their particular database, how they are using the message queues and so on and so forth. So, I mean, information is all over the place. All you have to do is just go to the right source and just consistently follow that. And you would come across examples that you can learn from, right? And and do look at technical blogs or technical websites of Facebook, Netflix. Netflix is huge when it comes to DevOps. Netflix is huge. They have a piece of software that they run. It's called Chaos Monkey, and what that software does, it just randomly goes in and it turns off different systems, different Netflix system, just to cause chaos. And that's how they test. They make sure that their production is ready for anything and everything. So just search on Chaos Monkey. That would take you to Netflix technical blog posts. I mean, everything is there. So just Google on it. There are tons of information that would show up.
And also in my GitHub, I have put everything where you can go and information. After our call, I will put in our DevOps channel all the links. High
Okay.
scalability is one of the stuff. Is there are tons of stuff that folks can take help. I will post it into a DevOps channel.
Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So I think we can proceed.
Okay. Now I think as I told you that how you now as a software engineer or DevOps engineer, what are the job responsibilities are there, right? So I think now you should know it that before that, if you're a DevOps principal engineer, right? So these all like you are your release managers also, you are using the automation expert also, you are like a software developer tester also, you are like a quality assurance also, right? So if you think about it, nowadays there is no quality assurance, right? If you are doing quality assurance means that you should be a quality engineer, not a quality assurance. Like manual testing, those days are gone now, right? So that means if you are developing it, that means that you need to go and develop your quality of the software is, and you should be all your code be a security stuff also, right? There's no security engineer that can work in your machine. All the security engineer that they are doing automation of your security infrastructure. They are not doing they are not be a part of your software development team as a same thing like quality assurance. If the quality assurance, there's no manual testing nowadays, because now if you are a part of the quality assurance, that means you have to be a good quality engineer, so you can go and automate the stuff, not doing the manual testing. Manual testing or all the initial level testing, it's all developer responsibility or engineer or responsibilities are. So these are all the I would say responsibilities that as a engineer you are doing in your team. That's why now I'm emphasizing more and more that engineer has more value as compared to any other in that technology. That's why if you see all the companies, they are emphasis more on data structure stuff, right? They need to know hands-on stuff, right? So if you think about it as an engineer, if you are a DevOps engineer, you want to become it, so you need to know Ansible, Python, Amazon, GitHub, all those stuff that I think you need to know it. And these are and when you becomes a very good engineer, that means that all these responsibility you can think about it, right? How you can release as a release manager, how you can do things are automatically exported, how you can do the quality assurance. So I think this is the main stuff of you are using the DevOps stuff. Now I need to go more on one. I mean, DevOps is like as I told you that if you are doing more automation, if you are doing more release management, that means your monitoring should be pretty good, right? Nowadays, every day is your is your release day, and every time you can do release. That means that you should be a more on good on monitoring stuff. That's why you need to know that you come to a one more stuff over here. What is SRE? That means you have to be a good site reliability engineering also. So some suppose few people they do not want to make their career as a software developer, which is doing the business development. But if you want to become a DevOps, then you can become more your career as a SRE engineer also, which is called site reliability engineer, which is kind of like a same career path in DevOps, or and it's kind of like it's merging with DevOps and SRE also. And those are the, I think, more robust career in the software engineering nowadays days. So as a developer, you have to know the little DevOps, but if you want to go on and automate and monitoring stuff, then you have to be a site reliability engineer also. So SRE is a system developer that focus on infrastructure problem. So now as an engineer, and a DevOps engineer, you deploy your code, everything, but you need to know the monitoring. Is your code is working properly? If your server is going a lot of memory, or it needs to go and automatically shut down and stuff. So all these stuff, that means that you need to go and adopt some best practices, which is SRE is defining in your. So if you are making your career then as a software engineer and software and DevOps, so you can take you should start your career with a software engineer and DevOps. And when you want to go to a next level of DevOps, I think SRE is the one is the one is. So there are some certifications are also there for the SRE also. But in SRE, you need to know software development, plus you need to know infrastructure also. That means you are combining your infrastructure and development together. So that's the next level of your DevOps also. So people are, so the reason that I comes up with this slide also, because most people are now mix up what is DevOps, I can grow as a DevOps engineer. You can go and merge your career with a DevOps and SRE also. I think that's a very good career path nowadays. So if you want to go and grow your career in this area also. Any other
I
question,
mean,
Mani?
before we move on from this SRE topic, just to add my 2 cents here, uh, if you were to, let's say, if we were to describe site reliability engineering, right? If you were to sum it up in one simple definition, what would be that definition?
Site, I mean, first of all, this terms come from Google. Google adopted
Hmm.
this as a Google
Uh-huh.
is the pioneer of SRE.
Sure.
Okay, that means that the how the system that you are building it, how much reliable it is. You can say I can develop. I can if you go to a business, right? You say give me that I can deploy feature in 1 hour,
Hmm.
right? But business say what reliability you have it. So then you
Hmm.
can say these are the SRE reliable engineering I'm
Hmm.
following. SRE means what is my SLO, what is my downtime, what is my if the downtime comes in, what automation I have done it. So in a single one sentence, as a DevOps, I can say that I can go and release very quick, but how much reliable I am. That
Hmm.
business want to know, right?
Okay. Okay. I mean, the reason I asked this question because I have seen this terminology thrown around, and in fact, few of the recruiters reach out to me in the past for an SRE position, and I was like, dude, I do not have experience in this domain, so I don't know why they would reach out to me, but okay. So, but what you're saying is that SRE is more like the next level up after DevOps, right?
DevOps, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
think about this one. See, DevOps, you can say I can ship software faster, but how
Hmm.
much? That means if you are shipping faster, you are not reliable.
Okay, I see. I see. Now there is this consortium or some kind of organization. It's called DevOpsInstitute.com.
Yeah,
Are you aware of that?
yeah, I am a certified SRE from DevOps Institute.
Oh, you are. Okay. So
Yeah,
so this website or this organization, they offer certification
yeah,
related to DevOps.
yeah.
Is that right?
I did SRE certification 3 years back from DevOps Institute.
Okay, I see. I see. So would you recommend that for the audience on the call?
Correct. Yes, I think I highly recommended it. That that SRE. There is one course of in Coursera also from the Google. Do that thing first. It's a I
Mm-hmm.
think $50 course, and then do the SRE certification. That gives
I
you the
see.
complete engineer in a path.
Okay. Okay, great. Awesome. Now, people are asking for your GitHub profile. Can you post a link in the chatting window, please?
Okay, I will post it.
Okay, great.
Just a minute. Issue to- So you can find everything my things over there. What I am reading it, how I'm doing it. So I can share with this you guys. Yeah, I will share it after this one.
Okay, awesome.
Just a minute. Okay, I did it. Okay, so any other question on that one?
Uh, yes, so there's another question. Sir, when you will recommend to do it? And I'm assuming Usman is referring to SRE after 3 to 5 years of experience.
I think nowadays, 3 to 5 years, everything will be changed.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Just do
true.
it. I would say don't wait it in technology nowadays. Just do it.
Hmm.
So because
Yeah,
technology in technology, there is nothing that you have 20 years experience, what you have done in the last 3 years. That's it.
yeah. I agree, actually. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah,
Right.
as
Okay.
a experience, you are more thing. At least I would recommend that you should do like I am doing 5 certification in a year. So at least you should do it those things.
Wow. You are an inspiration, brother. All right. So go ahead, please.
All right. Okay. So, I mean, as your question, Mani, that how so that's the question that as a SRE you need to know that what reliability you are, what monitoring you are, how you are alerting it, and what product engineering you are. These are the questions are like if you see about it, different companies has implemented all these building blocks into their product. Like Amazon has CloudTrail also. Amazon there a company called Datadog, which is very good in stuff. So they are doing pretty good over here. So so as an organization, when you go to a next level of DevOps, you need to know that how the SRE can fit into your stuff, right? Okay, and SRE model. So what are the service level agreement that SRA team, how you are growing. So all these question and all these stuff SRE model is comes in because it comes when you adopt your all DevOps best practices and you are shipping and you are doing more automation, then the SRE model will comes in. So I would highly recommend it that if you have some experiences, just do it the certification first, so you know that what are the building blocks are. Because once you do certification, then at least you know all the points. Now you can go and apply apply it. Okay, so I think that if you make your career as a software engineer, you need to go DevOps and then you could do SRE model. I think that's the best career nowadays as a software in a software engineering world. I think so you, but in this case, that's why as a software developer now you need to know everything. You need to know the infrastructure also, right? You don't say that, hey, I don't know the infrastructure, or I don't know the stuff of all. I just know the you should be a very good in your. If you see me, if you see my GitHub, I see every day. If you see last 3 years how I'm practicing data structure, my data structure is pretty good. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I can go and adopt any stuff. You see, for last 3 years, I'm doing every
Mm-hmm.
data structure, all my searching. My data structure is pretty. That's why I can go and adopt any language. Language is irrelevant.
Right. Awesome. This is actually a treasure trove of knowledge and information. So thank you for sharing your GitHub.
So that's why I mean, uh, you have to become a try to always think about how you can become a good engineer, not software developer. Good engineer, what best practices are. Sometimes, even though I did my master's in 1996, you have to go to your basics again. That's the thing is, if you see all these big companies when hiring it, if they are a software development engineer, even though you have 20 years of experience, they will ask you data structure course questions
Right.
only.
I mean, on that note, I'll take a minute to share my experience. Uh, I'm the chief technology officer, and I do hire people. I do interview people here, as well as offshore and here and there. So the trend that I have noticed over the years, and by the way, I have been managing teams for the last 20 years, right? The trend that I have seen is the more encapsulation is being put around the technology, more layers of facade have been put on it to make it easier for rapid development. That is making people really, I mean, lazy. They don't know how things work under the hood, right? And you need to have that understanding. You need to know, the basics of threading, basics of, architecture, movement of data, how the data flows, behind the scenes, and overall just the internals, how things work, right? Anybody can create a web page and drag and drop a button in the IDE, double click on it and write the C# code or Java code and make that button do things and talk to the database. Cool, fine, perfect, right? No, what is happening behind the scene. I still remember the days when there was no debugger support. We used to debug the ASP code by writing, simple commands and, like tedious way to debug it to really there was no wrapping around the HTML controls. We were playing or working directly with plain vanilla HTML tags and kind of running into and learning all these different attributes. Same for C++ code, right? Nowadays with all the shelling around the basic OS level API calls, everything has been abstracted away. So developers, they do not know how things work behind the scenes. And that is crucial if you want to be a good software engineer. So do learn the internals. I mean, don't just be happy that you have installed an IDE and have created a web page or two or a Docker container. No. How things are working behind the scene. What different settings mean. What would happen if you turn this on or turn that off. What would happen if you have more than one instances of your web application running. Things such as what is the difference between web farm versus web garden versus other other architectures, right? How look at all these architecture videos and tutorials and highscalability.com, how these companies are handling hundreds and thousands, even millions of users per minute, per second. This is like huge. There's so much to learn. There's so much to learn. And you can learn it by learning the basics first.
If you see about all my system designing, I put everything over here
Mm-hmm.
from where how I'm learning it, and you can find you should be your system designing basics should be pretty good. If you see this at this site, this site will give you all the basics, not too much. Basics
Mm-hmm.
should be there.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
I think I am more focusing on this
Right.
stuff.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Any other stuff that anyone has questions?
Oh, I think there's another question from Mohammed Usman. Sir, for a software engineer, you need to know everything means sound knowledge or good overall knowledge. Like I work in sort of things. I'm not getting the question. Um, did you get it?
No, I think as we told you, your basic should be pretty good. And then suppose you're going interview for any, so all you need your data structure should be pretty good, right? But at least you need one language so you can code it pretty well, right?
Okay.
As my language is, if you take my uh, exam, I will go in Java only. But and now for the last 1 year, I'm not doing Java programming. I'm doing Python and Go mostly. So that's answer your question, I think. I mean, at least one thing that you need to go in depth and everything you need to know overall. But if your basics are correct, then you will go and adopt the language pretty fast. That's my experiences. Any other question?
No, I think we are fine. Thank you. No more questions at this point in time.
So I would encourage that. I think I mean, it's a good session that it gives you the just overall it just change your thought process, right? So I think our thought process also need to be changed a lot. We need to think differently. I think that's need a lot of changes required.
Okay.
That's why if I see anyone who is struggling into their software engineering career, I think you need a right mentorship and you need a right thought process from which path you need to go and adopt it. Because there are so many things nowadays.
Right. Agree. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to cover?
I mean, I would say that as a DevOps engineer, so you can you can put in if you're doing software as a software developer or you're so you should say adopt the DevOps in if you are on infrastructure side, then you should adopt GitOps, which is also DevOps philosophy also. Philosophy also, I think those are the things that you need to go. Even though if you are doing QA, you need to go and adopt the automation stuff.
Okay. Now about somebody that wants to learn AWS or Azure or let's say GCP DevOps offering, how can they go about doing it?
I
I
mean, the
mean, what
best
is
thing,
the cheapest way or perhaps the free way for
uh,
them to learn it?
I think, I mean, I mostly using the cloud grew, but as you explained that Amazon has the best sites available if you want to go cheapest way. But I think cloud grew is a pretty good site, but that's an expensive site.
But Cloud Guru is not free, right?
Not free.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there is a question from Mohammed Usman. Sir, a little knowledge about sysops and other things are coming up. What's your suggestion on it?
Yeah, yeah. I think SysOps is your career is two-way, right? When you're doing business development application or you're doing infrastructure. SysOps is if you go for your system system administrator or system developer. Like SysOps is very great fit in if you start your career as a SysOps, but coding is also required, right? And then you make your career into SRE. Either you go to a software development, DevOps and SRE, or you go to as an administrator and you go make your career into SRE.
Okay. All right. So now, specific to DevOps, I mean, are there any other resources or are there any other websites that you would want to mention specifically for DevOps?
I mean, see, I usually there is not one site. I mean, I mostly use the Cloud Guru site,
Uh-huh.
which is a
Sure.
paid site. And I mean mostly, but those are all like I'm using mostly on educative. That's a one of the from Pakistani guys who developed these things. I think this is the best site, educative.io.
Okay. Educative.io. Okay, got it.
I think this is the best site I have. I think it is developed by Pakistani guys in Lahore, and this one I think that's a very good site.
And this is specific to DevOps
I mean,
or that's for
it's for
developer training?
everything,
Uh-huh.
but you can make your career over. If you're a
Okay.
DevOps, then you can make your stuff also. I usually
Okay.
do this way. So suppose if I want to make my career as a DevOps, so if you see, I think DevOps for developers. So it will give you the path, what path you need to follow. Network fundamental, GitHub, Docker, this one. So that's I think
Interesting.
that's the thing I like it. That's the best side I, but it's also a pay.
And is this free?
No.
Okay. It's not free. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay. All right.
But this give
So
you the path.
I think path is definitely more important because once you have a course, once you have the
Yeah.
path, once you have the like the guideline step by step in the order, you could just pick a step one, YouTube on it, you would find
Yeah.
tons of videos. Then step two, YouTube on it, tons of videos.
Correct, yeah.
You know, yeah, okay, awesome. All right. Is there any other question? Okay, so Mohammed Usman is asking another question. Would you suggest after learning DevOps, should we move towards cloud security?
Yeah, I think you can do it. Then you are making
Okay.
your career into a see DevOps is like a it's not a software development. I told you that DevOps is a mindset change. You are changing your mindset into a software development, or you are changing your mindset into an infrastructure. So obviously, if you're going as a security engineer, you can make your career over there also.
Hmm.
DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is a mindset.
All right. So I think it's been an hour, and unless there is any other question, I would like to thank our expert Syed Majid Raza for being on the call on this fine Sunday morning, and to share the details with us, and to guide us. And again, as always, please feel free to reach out. I mean, we are here to help, and I'm sure Majid Bhai would be okay if all of you connect with him on LinkedIn, right?
Sure,
Majid Bhai?
sure. You
Okay,
can
great.
ask the question into our Discord channel. I will answer it.
Okay, great, perfect, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, guys. So have a good day, good night, and stay tuned for more webinars and guidance.
Okay,
Thank you
thank you,
so much.
Mani. Thank you.
Assalamu
Thank you for
alaikum.
calling, Islam.